How about that? What's the deal with Lyft in St. Louis? What's going on?
Well, the whole idea is that, well, we can just do it. You take out your iPhone, and these companies, Lyft and Uber is another one. They're both based in San Francisco.
These are app-based ride-sharing programs.
So the whole idea is you take out your phone and you tap and you say, I need a ride. And you can see on your phone where these cars are, but in the cars are not taxi drivers. It's regular people, for the most part, who want to make an extra buck.
And have signed up through this service. They'll come pick you up, take you where you want to go.
Right.
Not everybody's happy about that.
No, and what it's really done is it's shaken up the legacy dispatch taxi cab service in cities like St. Louis, where you have taxi cab companies that are, some might say highly regulated, but at least they're regulated. Drivers get background checked, fingerprints, drug tested. There's certain amounts of insurance that they have to carry, and they don't think it's fair.
So how's this going over in the city? What's the buzz on Lyft?
Well, I think it has been a little bit unfortunate that St. Louis is being sort of cast as, oh, behind the times and you know, not progressive, whereas a lot of cities are dealing with these issues. Chicago, Minneapolis, Pittsburgh. I mean, there have been fines of Lyft drivers for sure in Madison, Wisconsin. Sure. Milwaukee's another one. So St. Louis is not alone and has certainly not been, you know, behind the times on this. We're grappling with the same issues that other cities are.
So where are we now? What's going on?
Well, it's interesting. Where it started was the Taxi Cab Commission last year, I believe it was in March, decided that they were going to require that these companies obtain a license from the commission. And it's interesting because through state law, 3 of those commissioners have to be representatives of the taxi cab companies. So it's what Uber or what Lyft has said pretty recently is, well, that's a little bit odd because you know, we could be your competition and you're sort of self-regulating in a way. So what they've said is that you need to get a license. Lyft has said no, that they're not going to get a license, and now it's in court. And Lyft has continued to operate despite a judge's order that they stop. They've just taken the mustaches off of the cars and they've kept going, which is really interesting.
And ironically, at the last meeting of this Taxi Cab Commission, where the enforcement of the rules on Lyft was being discussed and how to approach this, you know, newcomer to the market, that very same Taxi Cab Commission was talking about a shortage of cabs. I mean, there's a high demand now for cab service, particularly on weekends.
I think if anyone, I mean, you know, I wouldn't speak for you all, but if you're out in this city on a busy night, it's very difficult to get a cab. I mean, you know, they make the argument that cabs are a public service, and certainly that's true, but I think anybody who's been out, tried to get a cab, has waited an hour and a half, knows that there's a place in the market for this, certainly. There
was some talk that maybe they were kind of having an impact already on the taxi cab industry. They were talking about maybe requiring more cabs to work at night, maybe certain taxi cab stands and entertainment districts. Is this going to happen? Do you see this shaking out?
There's been initial discussion of that. That's an extension of that conversation that the Taxi Cab Commission had at the last meeting.
Will we have Lyft and Uber in St. Louis?
I don't.
Uber, I think, is more likely sooner because they were less adversarial with, you know, they went to the mayor's office, they said, can we change these commission regulations somehow to come in? Lyft didn't consult with Slay's office at all, and it made the mayor's office pretty mad. And they just came in and started going. The mayor's office has said that they're going to meet with both companies, and I believe they've already met with Uber, although I'm not 100% sure.
And in cab drivers, one Umar Ali is active on Twitter, was very upset, calling this by no means progressive. He was calling out quote-unquote hipsters who may identify as liberal, calling them part of a right-wing conspiracy to undermine middle-class jobs. So they've definitely had some pushback here.
Well, I mean, I can understand how a taxi cab driver would be unhappy that just, you know, someone with their own car could be taking away away their business. I mean, it's sort of, it's old meet new, you know, the old meets the new, and it's a tough situation for people who have spent a lot of time and money to have their own cabs.
Okay, let's talk about maybe old meets old meets new again, or old is new again. Forgive the analogy there, but the loop trolley. What's going on there? Are we going to see a trolley in the loop?
Well, just recently, one of the potential impediments was cleared when a federal lawsuit was dismissed, challenging the loop trolley project on a number of grounds. As I understand it, and talking to Joe Edwards, who will be on the show later, was that they're prepared to put elements of this project out to bid, and you may see work on it sometime this summer.
And it's not just the loop. There's some maybe some internet connectivity, some other things being laid down there. Are you covering any of that aspect of it? Is that something that you guys?
I think it was sort of high-speed internet that would go underneath the track, and I haven't really heard much about that. But things were sort of slowing down before there was question about the federal grant, whether that was going to come through this federal lawsuit. Now that those two things are out of the way, I think we'll probably start hearing more about that.
Well, Ken said it right. We do have Joe on the show later, so we'll stick around for more from Mr. Edwards himself. Do you see this loop trolley then actually happening, and when might we see it?
It looks like it is going to happen, and from talking to Joe last month, the bids are going out, and he's always very optimistic, Joe is, but it seems now all these pieces have been laid down. It looks like it's going to happen. Despite some pretty vocal opposition from, I don't know if I would call it a whole lot of people, but Tom
a handful
Stillman,
of people, and there is a chance that there will be a lawsuit filed in state court.
There was already a lawsuit in
right, and they're talking about some of the points that weren't decided in the federal suit may now go to state court. That hasn't yet to be decided, but it's still out there.
Let's shift downtown just a little bit. We don't call it a trolley, we call it a streetcar. What's going on there? Is there a real future for a streetcar that could run from downtown all the way down Lindo and make a loop somewhere and head back?
Well, based on some of the proponents of that project, the answer would be yes. There's some competition for Tiger Grant funding, as I understand it, to try to make this happen. It's not inexpensive, upwards of $270 million to build. Unlike the loop trolley, which would have sort of the vintage cable car or trolley car type vehicles, these would have more modern, sleek streetcar vehicles.